Welcome to the Sleeping Barber podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of our Barber's Brief. If you are a new listener, because we know a lot of new people keep coming on and we'd love to have you here, Mark and I like to use this forum to discuss things that have caught our eye in the last couple of weeks. We like to highlight a marketing moment, also known as a best practice, but also discuss our ad of the week. This is probably one of our favorite segments. Mark, good morning for you.
Good afternoon for you, V.
Well, great to see you again.
How's lovely Greece?
It's treating me well. I'm getting already a little bit sad, if I'm honest. I'm flying back later this week. Well, actually, when this airs, I'll be back in Canada. So
there you go.
There you go. But it's been good.
In the news, V, outside of you being in Greece, what have you got?
Well, nothing but my favorite topic, Taylor Swift.
Yeah, she's been everywhere.
She has been everywhere.
Same with Travis Kelsey, too. Like, they're all everywhere right now.
That vlog pod, call it whatever you want, is insane. Like, they're taking things to new heights, as one would say.
Yeah.
But so just quickly on that. So like Reese responds to a Taylor Swift album news with real clever advertising agility. So what happened? So on the podcast, The New Heights with Travis Kelsey and what was his brother's name again? Anyways, let's just call them the Kelsey brothers. Jason, that's she dropped news of her upcoming album, dubbed The Orange Era, during that appearance. Now, in real time, they spun up an ad in less than 24 hours. We're talking about real, I guess the speed to market essence of it. So they created a 15-second spot titled "You Asked For It," which ties Reese's iconic orange packaging to Swift's new album color aesthetic. It includes Easter eggs like referencing the vault, a concept that Swift uses for unreleased songs, clever nods of fan love. Like, honestly, to be honest with you, I couldn't pick up any on these because I am definitely not a Swiftie, so I have no idea about all of this.
I'll have to ask my kids.
Yeah.
But they can interpret it for us.
Exactly. It ran immediately via YouTube as a massive takeover for the day. It was supported by social posts, TikTok on TikTok and Instagram, and some connected TV placements, if I'm not mistaken. And, when we're kind of going through this, and by the way, sorry, I found this in the marketing dive, to be completely honest. They highlighted like why they believe this wins. It's because of the speed. So Swift's episode on New Heights racked over 14 million views in 2 days. Reese's repurposed that momentum, earning 3.6 million views on that ad alone. They were also perfectly poised because they were actually sponsors of New Heights as well. So that kind of added. So from a consumer perspective, they're already aware of consumers were used to hearing about Oreo on the episode. So that added to it. And then, this move just highlights how in today's, cultural landscape, first movers win attention when everyone else is slow playing creative. Brands that react quickly can get the spotlight. Now, I know you and I would argue that always translate into bottom line, dollars and things to that effect. I mean, that's left to be determined. But it was just a nice little kind of like moment where, speed and agility was able to win a moment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I think we've talked about this a little bit before, but there was a year and a half where I was working on making viral videos. And it's a really interesting thing, the timing of that kind of stuff. Like especially now, because the news cycle is so short. I always thought of it as like surfing. If you're trying to paddle in to a wave, you can either be really early or really late. And it's really hard to get it just right. And if you're really early, the wave crashes on you. If you're late, you miss the whole thing.
Missed it.
Yeah. And so it's really interesting, the timing of trying to do that in the moment. And so that speed part around the manufacturing, the production of those assets becomes really critical.
And I'm sure AI had a big role in their ability to kind of turn this around. And even though the article didn't go into talk about that, but yeah, anyways, it's one of those like, there you go. It's how quick can win sometimes. Okay, what did you find?
Well, just in time for Q4, OpenAI seeks a piece of ChatGPT driven e-commerce sales.
What?
Yeah. Well, it's everyone saw this coming. It's the worst, the biggest telegraph move of all time.
We got to start making money now, guys.
Yeah. OpenAI is diversifying their revenue streams. So far, they've pretty much been pulling in revenue through subscriptions. Obviously, e-commerce is a huge play for them. And so they're trying to take a cut of the ChatGPT sales through an affiliate fee model. So a few months back, ChatGPT formed a partnership with Shopify, which is fully integrated into social media platforms like TikTok shopping features. product recommendations historically have been generated from details provided by merchant feeds. And so now OpenAI is looking at embedding decision-making, AI-based decision-making tool into providing a relevant shopping experience for people based on all of their search, not just the merchant feed keywords matching with what people are searching. So it'll be interesting. Yeah, so it'll be an interesting agentic sort of experience. I think the thing that's interesting about this is that they're going to be looking for ways to obviously use all the tools they have, like voice-enabled assistant that makes it so more seamless, like the Amazon shopping feature, but then also being able to interact with people as they're using the OpenAI tool. So like, hey, do a comparison of this. Tell me what you think about that. And so then every one of those sort of conversational searches now becomes fodder for that overall recommendation.
Yeah, the conversation part becomes so important now.
Yeah. And so then also with the idea in mind of optimizing for a conversion rate. And so also things like, I fill in my form so that I don't have to do it. You know what I mean? Like you're all of a sudden, those obstacles, the barriers of purchase become less and less problematic when you've got an AI form filling in everything for you.
Have you ever ran any lead gen ads on like Facebook or things like that in your past? What's really interesting is like how that has helped simplify that whole process where, historically you drive people to a page. In the page, they'd have to kind of like write everything out on themselves. But things like, obviously like Facebook, they allow that autofill based on your own email that you have on the account, things like that. Like that ease of, I guess, like filling out the forms just makes things so much easier. Then I look at the application here, it's like, it just takes that one step further.
Yeah, totally. It's interesting when you mentioned that too. I remember doing this with a few different B2B scenarios as well. And part of the problem we ran into with lead gen forms is I kept calling it a speed bump. There is no resistance. And so you're getting a lot of bot traffic and fake stuff, just filling in completing forms. And so we ended up making the forms harder to fill in. So you actually, if you were interested, not really complex, but just enough that it couldn't just be a auto one click, fills in your information, your email and your first and last name. Because we were getting so much junk. So I kind of wonder I wonder how this all go.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Like, I know I'm half joking at the beginning there, but we know that ChatGPT for the longest time has just been, it's been going through seeds of investors and things like that. But now it's like, okay, we have to start finding a way to make money off of this. And here's like their first step into that. So it'll be interesting how it actually comes to life in Q4. All right. The second story for me was like Google expands its use of AI to detect invalid ad traffic. So Google's stepping up to try to tackle invalid traffic using what they're calling like cutting edge AI, and it's already making a tangible difference. So according to a recent article in the Marketing Dive, Google's expanding its AI toolkit to better identify and block invalid traffic, also known as IVTs. I think bot clicks, accidental taps, deceptive behavior, wasted advertising dollars to distort campaign data. And, it's probably one of the biggest knocks that we have against the digital platforms that we still kind of operate within is how much of it is actually true traffic, et cetera. And we try to do that by measuring bounce rate, click-through rates, engagement rates, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, but here's what's new. So Google's ad traffic quality team is collaborating with Google Research and DeepMind, and they're now using large language models or LLMs to more precisely analyze app and web content, ad placements, and user interactions. This results in the results are already showing an impact. Google's reporting almost a 40% of reduction in IVTs arising from deceptive or disruptive ad serving practices. Then this means fewer wasted clicks, better optimization cycles and things like that, or at least truer optimization cycles, right? Which makes the data also cleaner for advertisers as well. To back these AI systems, Google continues to employ automated and manual checks to ensure advertisers are not being charged for invalid clicks, even if the ad is served. Now, why this matters, if you think about us as practitioners, of course, I'm a lot closer to a lot of the media buying side of things. But for media buyers and marketers alike, the reality is cleaner traffic translates to improved campaign performance, more accurate attribution, optimization cycles against ROI, whatever event you're optimizing against should become better. And it also ushers in a shift forward to trust building in an environment increasingly skeptical of ad fraud. I know you and I have always talked about this, that you're better off buying the premium audiences or premium placements through a lot of the ad platforms and avoid like open exchange, and while
Mhm.
people can be lured to the lower cost of operationalizing campaign in that space, there's a lot of that garbage traffic, etc. So this is a way to combat this. I'm all for it. Want to keep seeing more of this, obviously across the ad tech stacks in our ecosystems. But yeah, I applaud this initiative by Google.
It's funny that we've got Dr. Fu coming on, and
We do.
Well, we're setting up the interview. We've set up the interview, and we've got that coming up in a few weeks. So it'll be really interesting listening to him speak about this and hearing his take on some. We'll have to ask him specifically about this. We're so curious about invalid ad traffic. The one thing I just find it fascinating when people say things like a non-viewable impression. I'm like, what does that even mean?
Sorry,
it's the starting point of a really long conversation around this, which we're gonna have. But yeah, there is a ton of fraud, and I don't know. I hope this AI makes it better, but I kind of don't know if it will. I don't know.
I don't know, man. Anyways, there's a lot of thoughts I have here. I can't wait actually for the interview with Dr. Fu, because I know he openly said to us, like, make the questions hard.
Yeah. So by the way, for you listening, if you've got any questions you'd like us to ask him, please send us a note. That would be great.
Yeah. No, because we want to, like, we're not holding back. Absolutely not. So we can't wait to get that out there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, final story. What did you find, Mark?
Well, you and I have been chatting about different newsletter options. And so, funny enough, I stumbled across this story about Substack is becoming the new go-to platform for Gen Z brands.
Of course.
Which is kind of interesting. So this is from Success Magazine. So Substack is honestly started at scratch trying to figure out what Substack is, because I've heard it pop up more and more recently. And I've seen Substack, but I just never thought about how it really worked for me. So the way I have it categorized in my head is that it's a blog / newsletter platform that allows people like, say, us, writers, creators, publish and monetize their work directly. But the difference being that it's from a subscriber list that they own. So it is a bit like an ESP, like an email service provider.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also a bit like Medium, where it's like a writing platform.
Right.
So in a sense, the audience ownership is managed by us. So in that sense, it's email marketing. But then you can monetize, everybody can monetize it. Subscribers get exclusive content to things like premium articles behind the sites. It depends on what the creators are putting up there. And then there's also an analytics platform in the back. So Substack created a $20 million creator fund to entice creators away from platforms like Patreon and help them build loyalty. There's a lot of individual creators out there. Some of the top earners are making over $1 million a year. So there's one called Lenny's Newsletter, which is product marketing and tech, which you should take a look at. There's one, I'm just picking some that I thought were relevant for our audience. Sociology of Business. Rashad Tobaccowala has got really interesting one put up. There's one, a friend of the show, Ben Wise, has got a Substack called Captivate. So brands are getting involved. And so American Eagle, we've been talking about them a little bit lately, after finding out that it's a key channel that can to reach their 15 to 25-year-olds on, has invested in it. So they're producing content specifically for that channel. Selena Gomez is also using that for her rare beauty brand. And so the idea of, attention is fragmented, true, but it's not that email is dead, it's just evolving. And so I don't, we always talk about, the death of everything. I think we sensationalize that. This is kind of an interesting spin on how email maybe isn't dying and how people are actually turning this into like a revenue stream for the brands.
I mean, like this for me is so similar to what Reddit did to really disrupt also like that space. Because if you think from an advertising perspective, Reddit is that in that research phase. Of course, like there's entertainment value in it. People want to talk about, potentially show that they're catching up on, and they go to Reddit to see what others are commenting. But it's a great like source of information. And I look at Substack as another evolution of that, essentially, where you can create more loyalty and, subscribership, etc. So I think like that, dare I call it the mid funnel, is being shifted, where it predominantly lived in, if you think of like consideration tactics and things like that. But like, I think it's changing before us. And I know you and I were talking about like, hey, how do we get something set up there? How do we, just pick a platform, basically. And I think it's all pointing to, I think this is probably another reason why we should be.
Yeah. So we can get all those millennials.
You get all the millennials.
All the 15-year-olds.
all the future CMOs and CEOs of companies.
That's right.
We're coming for you.
We're starting early.
I love it. I love it.
V, you got a marketing moment.
It's a teaching moment today, though, Mark.
Oh, I'm excited.
This is different.
Okay. Well,
I was poking around in search engine land. I always like it because it's not just from the search perspective. There's just a lot of great articles and columns that get published. And lo and behold, there's a column by, I think her name's Di. It's DII Pooler. And it's called When to Restructure a Google Ad Account and How to Do It Right. Now, if we think about the world that we're living in, it's very easy to kind of think about, hey, you know, the traditional search model is moving away. We need to start thinking about AI. And how do you prepare a lot of your content to be in forms of like AI answers, et cetera? The reality is Google in of itself and even traditional search is still quite large, right? And there's a value there to really make sure that you're running a really efficient program. Di, I'm going to call her Di for all intents. It could be D. Could be D. DII, what do you think? Is it D or die?
I was thinking DI2, like the shifters that I just broke.
It's a cycling reference for everybody. Yes.
But let's go with die.
Let's go with die. All right. So she highlights 6 red flags that signal that it's a time to rebuild. The first one, keyword overload or fragmentation. So there you've got ad groups with over 30 plus keywords. So your ads lose relevance over time. So you're over segmenting into dozens of micro groups that dilute data and hinder machine learning. Balance is key there. So the reality is this was even one of the more traditional best practices that you'd want. You didn't want to have too many keywords in those ad groups, or you'd want to make sure you're splitting them out in different ad groups. The second one, problematic campaign settings. An example.
It's a mouthful.
It is kind of a mouthful. Examples would include like search campaigns accidentally targeting display network, misaligned conversion settings, or confusing name conventions that cloud insights. It's one thing to be looking at. Illogical budget allocation. I know it's very tempting just to kind of have the algos do their thing, but these search campaigns accidentally targeting the display network can be having misaligned conversion settings or confusing naming conventions. Naming conventions could also cloud those insights and actually create problematic campaigns that then they're harder then to kind of dissect and see what's actually working from what's not working. The third one was illogical budget allocation. So if most of your spend is going to low intent awareness campaigns while high intent lead campaigns are starved, something's not making sense, right? So you might want to make sure, again, like she outlines frequently in this column, like the balance needs to be key. This is another. Budget allocation needs to make sense for what you're trying to achieve. Looking at your chaotic search term reports. If your search reports are coming back, with irrelevant queries, strange geographical terms, even after adding negatives to try to navigate a lot of that, suggest a deeper structural issue that you need to make sure that you're getting ahead of. Performance plateauing is another big one. You've been running the same accounts and you have what you believe like these benchmarks in place. I would argue there's probably a plateau that you've hit. So then you have to rethink about, different ways that you need to be restructuring that account to potentially try to find more optimizations moving forward. The final one was data fragmentation. And the reality is that kills machine learning. So running dozens of tiny low spend campaigns actually starves the algorithms of meaningful data for not only bidding and optimization. So that's where you want to make sure that you're not starving your accounts in any way or creating too many micro accounts that actually aren't serving a purpose. So she quickly highlights how to restructure when you're thinking about through an automation first approach is that you need to embrace simplicity. So consolidate your campaigns where you can, use broader match types with smart bidding, and you can start trusting more of that machine learning in certain cases. Still make sure you're staying close to your reporting. Audit and preserve high performers. There's going to be campaigns that you've had in the past that are probably still performing really well. Audit them. Don't remove them. Identify again where you can continue this specific campaign itself in this new structure that you're building. Align your budgets to the goals. So again, when you're going through it and you're setting up all your campaigns, be very purposeful to say, well, this campaign specifically, I needed to try to drive conversion. This one here, it's part of a research phase that we want to make sure we're conquesting against those that are looking at our competitors. Whatever the case may be, just make sure you're setting the right optimization events so that you can try to drive maximum value. Know when to restructure. So again, avoid the rebuilds during peak sales periods. Please don't restructure in Q4. I will repeat, do not restructure in Q4. You can find seasonality for yourself and see when you have the lowest period that have the lowest amount of impact to your business. And, I'm just going to end with a couple of things here, why this matters. And the easiest way to think about this is like almost like a renovation. Like if you've done search for a long period of time, you probably set a foundation on some sort of strategy that you have. I'm not saying, go down to the foundation, blow it all up. What I'm saying is take down a few walls, throw some paint on it and try to kind of bring it back to life in a new shape without avoiding a complete like rebuild right from the beginning. That's something you want to avoid, especially again, because, depends how much time you have, mind you. And then for those listeners that are facing persistent inefficiencies or siloed spend, this is your big sign. So make sure that you're tweaking and you're rebuilding very thoughtfully. And that's the marketing moment.
It's a good one. There's so many things in there. The last part, one of the last parts you mentioned, especially about thinking about the objectives you've got, I think that matters so much. And optimizing for that, it almost is never a click.
No.
And even at that, it doesn't always mean it's going to be a quote unquote conversion either. Because if you've got a lot of offline sales, traffic, customers, that kind of thing, it's a much more difficult thing to optimize for. So then being creative around, not creative, but just being thoughtful around the metrics you pick and that becoming a huge thing.
Kind of a big deal.
It's a good one. Yeah.
Out of the week.
You found one. This is a Canadian one. So the TD Bank.
Canada.
TD Bank has a newish campaign out called Own a Piece of It. So for the last little while, I've been hearing radio ads and TV ads even. Fractional stock ownership is sort of the concept of what they're pushing here. So you can, let's say a stock was $100. If I had $10, then I could buy a tenth of that stock, which is kind of interesting. So TD Bank and Ogilvy Canada launched this fractional window shopping out of home campaign. And I know it's visual, so we'll have to show you on the YouTube video here, some of the videos. But it's a really interesting campaign. They've got so many cool little, it's like the actual creative execution is very simple. It's a green billboard essentially. And behind the billboard, there's a little spot in the billboard that says own a piece of it. But then behind it is this little graphic, or you can see a little graphic of a logo. They position the billboard so that it's, say, the Coca-Cola bottle behind it, or a Lululemon sign behind it, or a piece of the Nike swoosh is behind it, or a little bit of the Apple is behind it. And so they're all the same. It's a very, otherwise bland looking image. It's very green. It's on brand as far as that goes, because green is the TD color. Own a piece of it. They've got their logo, a little bit of an explainer about it, but it's really the positioning of these ads that I think is so brilliant. It's just such a cool little idea, without really having to communicate everything about what fractional ownership is. They can do it by just showing you a fraction of the logo.
Right.
Smart.
I'm just looking at the visuals that you have here.
Yeah.
And for those in the, on the video, like I'll blow them up so everyone can see them even better. But it's such a smart way to think about that and saying like, here's a piece of the brand that you can actually own through this new feature that we're offering, or service that we're offering. It's such a smart execution, out of home execution. I would not be surprised if we see this in Cannes next year. Yeah,
probably. So brand lift study was done, and they had a 78% increase in positive perception toward the featured brands included in the contextual placement. So it's not even just that they're getting recognition for themselves, it's the brands that are being featured, like Coke or Lululemon, that kind of stuff. They're also benefiting from this campaign. So I thought that was awesome. Yeah. Such a cool campaign.
Oh man. That's a great find. And I love that it's Canadian. Okay, coming up next week, who do we have back?
Mimi Turner and Jan Schwartz from LinkedIn, this is actually, they think, the last of our Cannes interviews coming up. Last but definitely not least, this is a really great conversation around some of the findings they presented in Cannes on B2B buying behaviors and habits and needs that the buyers have, and how brands can solve those needs. And yeah, it was really a really great conversation.
Do you remember when they had that epiphany while we were interviewing them?
Yeah. That was really cool.
It was such a great moment. Everyone, I'm telling you, you will pick it up when it happens and you're listening to it in audio format or watching it on YouTube. Like you'll see in that moment, Mimi's eyes just light up. She's like, wait a second, we got something here. It was great to watch unfold right before us. And we'd like to think that we had a hand in that. So there we go.
I think we called it out too.
I totally did.
Yeah. That's why you need to come on the show, because we have these ideas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway, and with that, we'll say thanks to you for keeping us in your ears. It was great to have you listen along with us today. And in the Barber's Brief.
Thanks, everybody. Chat soon.
Bye.